Many people move to Washington, D.C. with a desire to have an impact on the world, whether it be through political, legislative, or social measures. Eleanor Van Tolder, a senior at American University and future Peace Corps volunteer, is no different.
My name is Eleanor Van Tilder. I am a senior in SIS at American University, and I'm going to the Peace Corps. I filled out my application in October and got into Peace Corps Mozambique in January, and I'll be leaving in August. I'll be teaching English to high schoolers, which is super excited because I've always wanted to be a teacher. I'm really excited to be able to work on cross-cultural communication and also be able to work on my Portuguese and speak Portuguese. I have been thinking about joining the Peace Corps since I was 10, and then when I moved to DC, I figured I was surrounded by people in the industry I wanted to join that were returned Peace Corps volunteers, so it was kind of the next obvious step. I wanted to go to Mozambique because I spent a semester in Brazil, so I had a basic understanding of Portuguese, and in Mozambique they speak Portuguese, and also it's easier to get into than some other Peace Corps countries. I am an SIS stereotype, meaning that I spent high school racking up volunteer hours to get into college, and then I realized it was something I like to do, so I did your typical voluntourism in Cambodia and Costa Rica, teaching English and putting on a summer camp. And I also worked as an art teacher in a favela when I was abroad in Brazil. In junior year, I went abroad for a year in order to kind of like test it out and see if I could be that far from home and handle the culture shock. And it turned out okay, but during that year there were a lot of reports coming out about sexual assault in the Peace Corps, and that really made me question the organization as a whole and how they were handling it. Ever since I was little, I've always been reminded, not from my own direct family, but from other people around me, that traveling as a woman, you are a lot more vulnerable than traveling as a man. And I always thought that was an unfair situation and an unfair statement. But the reality is that as women, we are more likely to be targets of crime and of sexual assault. I did 6 months in Brazil and then 6 months in Chile, and the first one of both of those kind of sucked. Brazil was really hard because I didn't speak the language at all, and everybody makes you scared of Brazil, so I was sure I was gonna get mugged. The worst part about being abroad was when I got mugged. It's kind of an abroad rite of passage if you go to Brazil, but it still was extremely shocking. So that was definitely like the hardest part about being abroad. And then just missing the comforts from home and having to be able to deal with the homesickness is also a little scary. On vacation for a week to a northern part of Brazil, it's a city called Salvador. It's like the second biggest tourist center in Brazil, and we knew that it's full of inequality, and the city's also like 92% Afro-Brazilian, so as a white girl I already stuck out. And I was walking down the street at 4 p.m. With a friend. What had happened was 4 guys had come up to me and punched me in the neck and grabbed my necklace. And once I figured out what happened, and my necklace was like a necklace I got when I was really little, I turned around and I was like in Portuguese, like, hey, give it back to me. They laughed because they didn't expect me to speak Portuguese. And then when I went to reach and grab the necklace out of one of the guys' hands, I looked down and realized I had 2 iPhones sticking out of my pockets, and I didn't want to lose everything I had on me, so I turned around and walked away. Traveling alone as a woman for the past year really made me become more aware of my surroundings, and getting mugged, of course, makes you a lot more aware of your surroundings. But on the other hand, it sucks to know that we can be the target of crime just because people think that we're not as strong or that we're not going to be as loud as a man. I definitely applied to the Peace Corps because it gives me, or will give me, a couple years to figure out what I want to be. To be honest, there's so many things around me that I still want to explore before settling down and getting a quote-unquote real job. I need time to explore the world, and I honestly think that 4 years of college experience isn't going to help me decide what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of my life. The Peace Corps is definitely a way for me to explore what my options are in terms of the SIS world, as us AU kids like to say, and for me to buy a couple years of time and find a real job later on. I definitely do not want to be behind a desk and a computer screen for the rest of my life.